For April the 3rd, 2020, we talk about World War Z, Twin Peaks VR, and The Surge 2. Welcome to Level 323. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Maismith.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. So happy to have you here. Guys, I have a new lease on life.
Ooh. Do you have a new lease?
No, I no longer lease. I lease my car, but
I mean, to be fair, aren't we all just leasing life?
Well, you know.
Everyone owns the Nissan Life, spelled L-Y-F-E. Sorry, derailing your good vibes here. What's up, man?
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to make a super dark joke. No, I was going to say I'm usually, somewhat concerned about am I a failure or not. But I just recently, in the past couple of days, learned that as long as my action or inaction doesn't result in more than 100,000 deaths, I've done a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a low bar.
You're at least better than the president, so
Well, he's the one who set the standard. So that's so that's good. That's how I'm.
So at least in this area, we can say that Trump is a standard bearer.
Yeah, things are dark.
I thought things were going to be worse, I guess, last week, just because, things are still not great, but I don't know.
Yeah,
we're not under military rule or anything yet, so.
Yeah.
Well.
we always have that temporarily.
I would say it's sad that dark times are always the thing that brings out the best in people, but I do also think that dark times have brought out the best in people.
It's one of those things you have to I don't know. I sometimes think about that, but then I think, man, it's real depressing that's what it takes.
We are broken creatures.
Yep.
Broken, sometimes beautiful, sometimes not.
I feel like dark times shows that there are two classes of people, and one has a best side and one does not.
I will say that's very true. I will say for the people that have good to be wrought out in them, dark times tend to bring out the good in people. Others, it reveals it's not there. I can get behind that.
But then there are profiteers and
yeah. Well, it started to. Thankfully, I still I haven't had anyone that I personally know contract COVID-19 yet, but it started showing up in news feeds. I had a coworker whose mom went down with it and thankfully recovered. I had a friend who's a surgeon, and she's like one of the people that's in reserve because they're expecting it to get worse. And so it's like, okay, you need to definitely not be sick right now so that when we need our second wave of doctors, you're it. And her grandma contracted it and unfortunately did not recover. So it's kind of working its way towards just, being very personal.
Yeah.
I've been thankfully shielded from it to some extent, but it's starting to pop up more and more personal ways. So yeah. Stay safe, people. Wash your hands. Stay inside. Yeah. Hug your loved ones. Tell your loved ones you love them over voice conference.
Give your loved ones a thumbs up.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's really funny because the usual hey, how are things going, what have you been doing, that ends up not because very little people are not doing very much, and it's like, so how you doing, what you doing, what you up to,
Surviving.
I'm staying inside. I am washing my hands. I'm giving my loved ones a thumbs up. Yeah. No, literally all that I have is I've been working and I finally did cable management on my desk so I can move it up and down without fear that it will yank all the cords out somewhere, which is good. Yeah.
I should link you sometime. Have you ever looked into cable wrapping?
I've got some of that. I've achieved a little bit of it with zip ties and things like that, but I got it there. No, the good part is, so I have my office configured for VR. And I'll talk about a VR game that's not Half-Life Alyx. Sorry. In the grind. Yeah, no, I just wanted to get in front of that one so people would not be disappointed for too long. No, but I got like a so the Oculus Quest for room scale VR recommends having 6.5 feet by 6.5 feet. I have a rug that matches that from IKEA. It's a flat weave rug that is black and white with a grid pattern.
Oh, nice.
So it actually looks like a Tron line VR kind of thing in my office here. And yeah, no, my office is now all set up for it, which is nice.
With
and that has been my project.
With black and white, have you tried turning on a black light? Because I feel like that would look even more Tron style under a black light.
It probably would, but I would probably also reveal some like weird discolorations already, which would make me lose my mind. I initially had it, so it's reversible. God, this is so boring. I'm talking about my fucking rug.
Hey, the future is shag, man.
But it's reversible. So one side has black squares with white lines, and the other has white squares with black lines. I liked the white squares with black lines better because it was brighter. But I just it only took 2 days for me to be able to see where my slippers were the entire time.
Oh no.
Just like picking up dust and grinding into it. So no, black side, white lines right now. So
has Greta started picking at it yet?
No, not really. She doesn't like the feeling of carpet on her claws. She really just kind of prefers the sizzle of the abundant scratching posts that are literally in every room of my house. So
we have scratching posts, but our cats have decided that is not enough, and they cannot be inconvenienced to move from their current location to relieve that itch. They got to start scratching right at the rug or the couch, or basically anything that isn't a scratching post.
Just got to pull it up.
I feel like you need to just show them some videos of declawing, just as a threat.
No, it's so sad.
That's I was going to say, Cole, your strategy for the cord management is take a tangled cord and just cut it to bits in front of all the other cords.
Scared straight.
You just
Oh, geez, that's really good. That is really good, Ben.
You just do it Yakuza style, start with the pinky.
Yeah. But only when it tries to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the videos of I've seen various police forces telling people off for going around and during the curfew, and apparently governors and mayors all over the world televising rants, just complaining about people going out during curfews, things like that.
I saw a compilation of Italian mayors that was really good. One of them said, "If we see you outside, we'll take a flamethrower to you." Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah. Well, only mildly fascist, but
It's an emphatic fascism. Say that 5 times fast.
Emphatic.
No, the best I've seen is someone hung like a ghost type figure with glowing red eyes from a quadcopter and would chase people that were out.
I love that.
I also saw someone walking their dog via quadcopter.
Ooh, smart.
Yeah, but apparently New York now has a hospital boat.
Yeah, you have a hospital boat. I saw a real bleak picture of the hospital boat right behind the Statue of Liberty as it was pulling in. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And apparently also some of Central Park is now a hospital.
Yeah. The Central Park is now a hospital. The Javits Center is hospital.
I think in the Spider-Man video game, they had Central Park was taken over by military rule.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hey, I remember in The Division fighting through some hospital parks.
That's in the video game formula. If you forget to edit the story or location section, I think that is the default.
Oh, geez. Yes. How are things up there in New York, David? I mean, it doesn't just have to be about the plague. It can also be how you're doing. What you been up to?
Yeah. Not a whole lot. Been doing a lot of kind of the extended martial arts community has been posting a lot of really cool tutorials.
Cool.
And people have been doing online seminars and things like that. So that's been a lot of fun. that's been the main of it. Other than that, just a lot of video games.
Yeah. That's cool. How about you, Dennis? What's going on down Cincinnati way?
Yeah, this is like almost pseudo gaming, but not really. I have just been Pelotoning my ass off. So I think I mentioned on the show before that Jen and I got a Peloton, and thankfully right before like everything got crazy, so we didn't have to worry about how to get it delivered or anything like that.
Oh yeah,
it's a preemptive.
I don't remember you saying you decided to pull the trigger. I remember joking about Peloton being a bicycle that yells at you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did, and that's been good. So I did a workout right before we started recording this show, and in general, like you said, having a bicycle that yells at you is very motivating. But two, you can always see your best effort, and it will like count up towards your best effort to show whether or not you're on pace to it.
Oh, cool.
And that alone is the most like, motivating thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So many times where I get on the bike, I'm just like, I'm just going to phone it in. Just going to get first off, they've got a daily and a weekly streak. So I'm just going to get on and do something easy. I'll phone it in to keep my streak going. Mm-hmm. And by the end, you're like, damn you past self, I will do better. I'd be cutting my past self off in traffic if I could do that to get the high score. But so I've been doing that, and that is good. I think a lot of different services have made online workouts available. Our wellness channel in the Slack has a ton of links to them. And then I think if anyone's interested, I can like share Peloton accounts with pretty much anyone. I think they've got free stuff going. They got a ton of stuff that does not require an exsercise bike. It's like
they did like
yoga
they've just got like a straight up video service now.
Exactly. So I have been leaning into the indoor working out as a good way to stay sane. Highly recommend.
So I found myself the gym in my place closed down, which probably makes sense. And I've got a 35-pound kettlebell, which is a little bit too light for me, and particularly for like shoulder press, and a 60-pound kettlebell, which is a little bit too heavy for that. And, no way to order or have access to any other training equipment other than like I've got.
Do you have an angle grinder?
No, unfortunately. I was going to order one right before this whole thing happened, but but no, what I ended up is I do actually also have a 15-pound weight. So I now have my kettlebell connected to a strap that goes up and over my pull-up bar, which is then connected to the 15-pound weight as a counterweight. So now I, in effect, have a 45-pound weight.
Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, that's a straight up, like, incredible machine type.
Yep.
Did you hear that building collapse in New York? Yeah, some asshole had this weird lever system set up.
Yeah, no, you guys are all fancy. I've got like a little 40-pound free weights, and I mean like literally just for like crunches or crunches and rows,
right,
and just my same old dumb non-screens recumbent bike that doesn't yell at me.
Hey, if you got Beat Saber, you got everything you need.
True. There's no resistance in Beat Saber. It's only, it only takes you so far.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all relative. I've got an 8-pound bar around here somewhere I use for like practicing stick stuff. You could do Beat Saber with that.
Did you hear that other building in New York collapse?
Yeah.
I'll also bring up that even a price gouge Ring Fit is cheaper than an exercise machine.
This is true. Yeah.
Also, don't price gouge.
Yeah, maybe don't, assholes. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm doing all right. It's, as you mentioned in the pre-roll, it's like same old, same old. I think in the past week, I've gone out of my apartment twice. So that's kind of weird. That's like slightly more than average for me. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that like the numbers, at least in Washington, aren't like getting out of control or whatever. They seem to be very slowly increasing. So hopefully having a good effect. But
Inslee seems to have a good head on his shoulders as regards that stuff.
yeah, like making a statement saying we want to make choices based on data and science. It's
Yeah,
like,
you know,
you have to say that out loud, I guess.
Oh, jeez.
Also, it's like a small pastime. I've been collecting like the data for like everyday like infection rates or whatever. So I think I want to kind of like start graphing that sort of thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, if you find a good visualization for that, let me know.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that, like, my morning routine is basically get up, open the window blinds to check that the city, town, or wherever is still here? Then, like, pull up the news, be like, all right, still not at war.
I mean, when I get up, I have probably 2 minutes where I forget that it's happening.
It's about the length of a good stretch.
Yeah, just about. And then a good stretch of my arm over to my nightstand to grab my phone. Oh, man. Yeah. So, it's not just talking about the plague. It's talking about the games we've been playing during the plague. So we've got the usual kind of show for you. We got the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with... The grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. I will put this to the room. Who has something brand new? Not like brand new recently came out, but something they haven't talked about before.
So I think Dennis and I have one to kind of tag team.
Okay,
Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, go ahead and start us off, David.
Yeah, so on the Epic Store currently, the World War Z game is free, which is basically Left 4 Dead with lots more zombies. Is that kind of how you would describe it, Dennis?
Yeah, the concept is someone took Left 4 Dead and then just drug all the sliders to the right.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And
both damage and number of zombies.
Yeah, so many zombies. And it's, how old is Left 4 Dead? When did that come out?
2008.
Yeah, so not even in the tens. It was still in the aughts. And it's clear that the amount of zombies you can put on a screen at once has increased since then.
Yeah.
Zombies per screen, ZPS, is a critical measure of video game fidelity. But I think my first impression is, while that is absolutely the case, and it is kind of awe-inspiring to see an entire crowd running at you. Like, this even puts, damn it, which of the other zombie games was in a mall?
Dead Rising?
Dead Rising, yeah. This even puts Dead Rising to shame.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of awe-inspiring to see from time to time. I would say the gameplay itself is very, very true to Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
Yeah, overall, I would say the biggest difference, I would see for it probably is, I guess one, it's a third-person shooter, which, does change some things. But then also, kind of like, was it Days Gone? It very much has the zombies attack explicitly as a horde instead of as individual zombies.
Yeah, like that's the thing, like with Days Gone, like everything, I don't think they ever described it this way, but like the movement and attack of zombies, it was almost like water. It was like fluid physics, like whether it was high pressure flow or not. Right,
exactly. And so this, I would say from a gameplay perspective, that's probably the biggest thing. The zombies very explicitly are modeled to not have any sense of self-preservation.
Yeah.
So we'll like charge at you, right over like, multi-story tall falls and, things like that. And likewise, directly through fire, that sort of thing. But then also if you're on a raised section they can't get to, they'll basically start doing like the ant thing where they just kind of form a mountain.
That's like they do in the movie to get over that wall in Jerusalem or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
if you've seen the trailer for World War Z, you have seen the gameplay of World War Z.
Because,
I watched the movie. It's fine.
This is. It is definitely like a direct, comparative to it or whatever. I don't know what you want to say. I don't know if it takes after more the book or the movie because I haven't read or seen either of those.
Okay.
But my understanding is that like the basic, there's like 4 acts. It's like New York, Jerusalem, Moscow, and Japan. And my understanding is that those all pretty much directly correspond to events that happen in the movie/book.
Let's say yes.
Sure, it's safe to assume it feels like.
Yeah.
I will say on the gameplay, like the one thing that really does tap into the large crowds is explosives.
Right.
Okay.
So as long as you're firing a gun, there's only so many things you can point a gun at once, which is one thing. And if you got a shotgun, maybe 2. If you're holding dual wielding stuff, maybe 2. But the second you get explosives in your hand, then all of a sudden the game changes, and it's pretty satisfying to chuck a grenade or launch a mortar directly into one of those pyramids climbing up towards you and watch it kind of spray zombie parts everywhere. That's pretty nice. So I would say that's the one place that the gameplay successfully distinguishes itself, at least in moment to moment. There's also some light kind of tower defense or defense setup gameplay going on as well, where you'll kind of enter in a larger area, more of a sandbox area, and have several cases of standing turrets or traps that you can set up before the horde rushes you.
Okay. I mean, this is probably a very basic question that it has probably been answered, but I just want to underline it. Is there anything that varies things up aside from maybe like the kind of arena that you're in? Because like a big part of Left 4 Dead is that you're not just fighting the herd or whatever, like the specials and, when and where they pop up in relation to your performance is kind of the fulcrum on which that game is actually good.
Yeah, there are not just specials like in Left 4 Dead. There are the specials from Left 4 Dead.
Jeez, it's that shameless, really?
Down to like the creeper is going to creep around and then jump on you, and then they call the tank the bull, but even like the sound effects are the same.
Although
there are some small differences.
To be fair, I would say the special infected are for the most part designed to be much more realistic. So
in context,
the special infected in Left 4 Dead, they follow Team Fortress 2 rules where they have to be discernible by silhouette, so they're going to be more cartoony.
Right, and I would say in this game it's almost the opposite. A number of them are purposely not discernible by silhouettes, and that's the whole point. Is like you have to be constantly be careful.
Okay.
So I think the ones here, there's like loud screamy dude that summons zombies. There's one that basically releases gas cloud, the tank type thing, and then the sneaky one, and then there's inexplicably one that's just like has bombs strapped to it.
Okay.
That I don't know. That one's weird.
Really not interested in self-preservation.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because like their excuse for it is like, oh yeah, that's like a demolitions person. It's like that's not what demolitions people do.
I mean, it's like specifically the one thing that they don't do.
Right.
That's only the ones that are still around don't do it, all right?
Right. Okay.
Get your confirmation bias out of here.
Yeah.
I would say
literally survivor's bias.
But I would say this time around, like the horde is much more the focus here.
Yeah.
It's much more focused on dealing with numbers that is with individual like special infected. One of the other actually kind of interesting things is they do model the fact that like if you have just, hundreds of zombies on a grenade, they're basically going to block the shrapnel. So like a given explosive can only kill a certain number of zombies.
That's remarkable that they would do that. Yeah.
But what about that speech from Armageddon where if you hold your hand around a firecracker, it does more damage? Is that not authentic?
That's only in space.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
The answer to any physics question is space.
Yeah.
So they also have a fairly complicated leveling system. There's like 5 classes, something like that, and they have a whole perk tree. For example, I've mostly played the gun haver class.
Okay.
And probably the most meaningful perk I have is basically if I unload my primary weapon and then unload my secondary weapon and then switch back to my primary weapon, it will be refilled. And then if I switch back to my secondary weapon, it will be refilled. So I can basically, fire indefinitely as long as I can, manage, flipping between the 2 weapons, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is that stolen from Left 4 Dead 2? Because I thought that if you switched after you started the reload animation, it would quick reload it.
So this is, so Left 4 Dead, it's just that you inexplicably are able to reload, while you're doing other things, whereas this is just like, it only happens once you empty the other clip.
Yeah, it works in space, though.
Yeah, it works in space. To be fair, many of these special abilities do not necessarily make sense with, physics and things.
Do they make the game more fun?
Yes.
Okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah, like I'm playing effectively the pyro class and have perks where my anything that does fire explosive damage does more damage, and also I don't get slowed down as much by zombies, so I can more easily wade into crowds.
Oh, cool!
It's hilarious to me that also one of my major perks is the fact that my stuff does less damage to myself and my friends. Mm-hmm. Basically acknowledging like, no, you're going to be dishing out friendly damage if you're playing this class, right?
Yeah.
But so it's much easier for me to kind of wade in, make a mess of things, and then wade back out before I get too far gone.
Nice.
Go ahead.
Oh, and it does bear mentioning that another difference is that friendly fire damage is much higher in this game than it is in Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
Yeah. Which makes me not like the kind of high damage weapons as much. Even though I've got perks that kind of allow me to use grenades and stuff a little bit better, I've kind of leaned away from the rifles or sniper rifles, that sort of thing. Like, just don't want to risk it.
Yeah. Do you have like a persistent character that you play as, or is it just within a particular round? You pick this character and you have these options of things you can roll with for your loadout.
So you have a persistent class, and then each of the 4 acts has 4 different characters.
Okay.
And that, the team, just like Left 4 Dead, the team's then made up of one of each.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of fun. They all have their kind of random backstory for like why they're capable of being in a zombie apocalypse and surviving. Ranging from being like a Olympic biathlete to a member of the Yakuza to like a war reporter.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been very underwhelmed with the kind of characters and the writing.
I've actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, teach their own. There's been one bright spot, however. Unfortunately for whoever wrote, it is completely not an intentional bright spot.
Ooh.
The funniest moment of this game is you're trying to like open up the way for this train, and you're in a giant hangar, for lack of a better term, with kind of control stations on either end and the track running under both of them. And first you got to open the door into the hangar. And so you kind of do your thing, work your way up to the first control tower, and the train then pulls in under you, bridging the gap between the first control tower and the second. And it's very close. Like you could literally hop over the fence, run across the train, and hop over the fence to the next control tower. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. You run across the train. But whoever designed the level didn't realize that was an option.
Oh, okay.
And they send you on an incredibly elaborate quest through the vents above this hangar to get to the other side some 15 minutes later, when literally you're standing there just like, I can hop this rail in half a second. There's a mantling system in the game as well. So it's like super obvious that you could do that.
And literally your characters have a conversation about like, well, how are we supposed to get over there?
Yeah. Oh man, there's a second station. We'll never be able to reach that. Wait a second, guys. I have an idea. Walking across the path right in front of you? No, go through the vents.
That had to be something that a tester pointed out, and they're like, but we're gonna ship in like a month.
Yeah, we gotta ship.
Hey, it created a moment of hilarity for me. I was highly amused.
Yeah.
But yeah, and maybe for me what it is these characters are not the Left 4 Dead characters. Therefore, I've made my investment in zombie apocalypse driven characters that are slightly funny.
Yeah.
And I just have no interest in expanding that repertoire.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
yeah.
I think some of it also is, I think the characters get much more interesting as the stories progress. Or stated another way, I think the New York story is by far the most boring.
Well, that could be it then, because that's the only one I've played.
It does also bother me that, at the start of the New York thing, kind of the backdrop of this is the U.S. military, making their like big stand against the zombie horde. And they very explicitly list out what military hardware they have. And there's literally no way that the zombies could possibly win.
Okay.
It's, they literally have a weapon that can blanket a square kilometer in basically grenades, and they have two of them.
Wait, on Earth or in space?
On Earth.
There's your problem.
Likewise, they have a battalion of tanks, which means 54 tanks, which are, I believe, 1,500 horsepower. So even if the bullets don't work, you could simply drive down the streets over the zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and someone actually, I found someone where someone did the math, and it's something like assuming that zombies could shoulder press like 400 pounds, something like that. Literally, there would not be enough area around a tank for the zombies to pick up the tank.
Okay.
Huh.
So they literally physically cannot flip it over. Like, there is no way that this would even be a fight. So I don't know. Sorry, that's my pet peeve of zombie stories, is like the idea that the military just gets, face rolled.
Yeah. Well, it's almost always an allegory anyway, so it doesn't actually have to work as a...
Damn you, Al Gore.
Yeah, any other thoughts about World War Z? Like, do you think you're going to fire it up again, get through the rest of it, or...
Probably for the co-op funsies, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be spending any time independently on it.
Yeah. How about you, David?
Yeah, I've played actually a fair amount of it, even separate from the co-op. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I think the only bad thing for me so far is there's no way to, I'm to the point where I want to do higher difficulty modes, and there's no way to basically tell it to only matchmake me with people that have a high enough level to have any chance of surviving.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else have you been playing, David?
So other than that, I'm continuing on in the Surge 2.
Okay.
From what I understand, I think I'm at the about the halfway-ish point. I based on the fact that apparently the upgrade tree, goes from levels 1 to 10, and I'm at 5. As like the maximum I can upgrade, and then also I'm apparently about to fight the boss fight that is like the point of no return, where a whole bunch of other quests, if you haven't completed them yet, they become unable to complete, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it still continues to be fun. It's definitely at least for now has had I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a difficulty crescendo, in that the game can be very, very difficult and very frustrating, but then I've gotten some armor that is basically like super heavy riot tier armor, and a ginormous basically club, and I can now more or less just wade in and chop heads and legs off as much as I want.
Okay.
You have a wind stick.
Yes, exactly. It is kind of funny that I don't know quite why, maybe just to let you enjoy being overpowered, but it will every so often you'll get into an area that like you couldn't unlock before. So like there's it's not just you're over leveled, but there will be, like I said, I'm at like level 5, and all of a sudden there'll be people there that are like level 2, and I will proceed to, a lot of them are just like random looters, and I'll proceed to just be like, yeah, like, let's just go our separate ways, and they will basically charge into the wood chipper.
Okay.
Are these computer players or other humans?
Computer players, but it's still there's a number of things where it's like, a number of them are kind of written to sort of be like, oh, these are looters that just kind of, pushed to desperation by bad situations, kind of that sort of thing. But it's like, you just saw me literally dismember like the first 3 guys that charged at me. Are you really going to now?
Quick, he's weakened.
Yeah. So that's actually one thing I did want to ask with you playing the first game. Does the first game have the whole like Dead Space fetish with cutting off limbs and heads?
Yeah, it's kind of its defining feature where you can target individual elements, even on enemies that are roughly just human bodies in mecha suit and things like that, and you've got the vertical attack, horizontal attack. That said, I haven't played very much of it just because depression because the world's ending, but
sure.
yeah, no, I'm behind on assignment play, but yeah, that is absolutely present.
Nice.
Yeah
It's a real interesting. One of the things I'm actually kind of appreciating, although I could see this maybe being something you'll either like or hate, is they've got, I don't know, 8-ish weapon classes, say, and it seems like compared to Dark Souls, where to a significant degree the weapons in a given class are just whatever they decide to put in the class, this time around, it seems like it's much more like there'll be a certain, I don't know what you want to say, kind of spec of weapon, and then there'll be one version of that in each weapon class. So, for example, there's one that's like, there's a series that's basically all improvised weapons, or a series that's all the military weapons, or all nanite damage, which is more or less like a damage over time type thing.
Okay.
Stuff like that. And so that's kind of nice, because even though that on the whole means that the weapons tend to be a little less creative than what you get in like a Dark Souls, the good thing is you can very much, have a build, and just if you want to try a slightly different, play style, just slot in the equivalent weapon from a different class.
Okay.
The other interesting thing is that the weapons all have, in a given class, all have the exact same moveset. However, they can differ in how much stamina they take and their attack speed, stuff like that.
Okay.
And that they make them differ to a significant degree that, it actually does create some pretty meaningful, feel in, how you fight with a weapon.
I mean, it changes the rhythm of play. It changes, how brave you're going to be able to get, what the number of brave or greedy you're going to be able to get when you take advantage of an enemy's opening. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So personally, the build that I'm doing is there's a whole bunch of abilities that you can get that either give you experience back when you build up a charge by dealing damage, or experience back, health back.
Okay.
Or give you health back when you dismember an enemy. And in effect, it ends up working out a lot like the regain system in Bloodborne, where, as long as I'm sufficiently aggressive while also dodging enough not to get spike damaged, I can generally, last indefinitely.
Okay. No, I mean, it sounds like you found a loadout that complemented your style of play.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna definitely, as I play more, get access to more weapons, stuff like that, try out a lot of different things, but definitely right now this is one that works for me.
Yeah, I wish I had more questions to ask about it, but I've not found the edges of what happens in the first game. The thing that I heard is that it's more mechanically satisfying, where the story gets much dumber. Which is not
in the second game.
Yes. So I guess broadly, at a high level here, how is the story kind of landing for you?
I would say mixed. It's not entirely clear to me yet. With some of the sci-fi / borderline magic beats.
Yeah.
So, for example, you kind of have the equivalent of the Bioshock hallucination ghost things, and it's not clear to me how weird they're going to get with that.
Right.
So for the actual story itself, kind of mixed. There is some interesting, world to it. It's very much a corporate dystopia.
Okay. Yeah.
Type of thing, which seems to be the theme for games right now.
No,
Yeah, as you do.
You have a lot to work with.
Yeah, exactly. So that definitely has some moments. It's all right.
Okay. That's fine. It's okay for it to be all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything particularly noteworthy. There are a number of characters that are just very effectively weird.
Okay.
You know, there's a weird like cyber cult you interact with that's just deeply weird. The game has their own equivalent of, I guess, Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. That is Iron Mouse.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also, and this would be a spoiler to go into some detail, but there's a weird sequence where you basically rescue someone who's been like held hostage by a bad guy, and like kill off the bad guys, save them, and they're like, well, this thing that this bad guy's whole business is now unoccupied, so I guess I'll just step into that. And it's like they're just way too chipper about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can't quite tell if to what degree it was intended to be that way or to what degree it's just weird. But yeah, so it's it has its highs and its lows.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
Cool. Dennis, I'll pick back up with you here. You had World War Z. What else have been dipping into?
Yeah, the other game I've been playing that is new is Sundered.
Oh, okay.
That's a great game.
Yeah, it's like a Metroidvania game. Real cool hand-drawn look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think was also free in the Epic Store at one point. It's like it showed up in my library. I'm not sure how it got there, but I'm happy it is. And man, have I been enjoying it. Like, just an absolutely incredible game. The story is kind of hazy to me, and I think that's intentionally so.
Yeah.
Where, you are this traveler walking through the desert. You happen upon this really weird facility that kind of springs up in the middle of a sandstorm. Maybe you were trying to find it. Maybe you just kind of found it. I don't know. But you work your way through it ever deeper and wider, unlocking new areas, new abilities, and this dark voice is kind of guiding you through, speaking in a language that the audio you can't understand, but it gives it subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
So
doing like a Shadow of the Colossus kind of thing.
Yeah, it's straight up Shadow of the Colossus speak.
Yeah. And it's all got a very Lovecraftian feel to it. Which I absolutely love. I've beaten the 3 mini bosses in the first area and kind of explored a little bit into the second and third areas. So for anyone familiar with the games, that's the perspective I'm going to be commenting from. And the thing that has stood out to me by far the most in this game is its sound design.
Okay.
This game does an incredible amount with very, very little. Like, it really knows how to use stillness, and there isn't a lot of soundtrack going on in the background for most of the game.
So it doesn't have like stage music. It saves that for like boss fights.
Exactly.
Or...
Yes.
So I mean, it's like this is considered to draw a lot of inspiration from Souls, and that tracks. Yeah.
That tracks. Yes. But just things like hearing your character breathe, like after a jump or landing or changing direction. Just the way that is built in, it was really weirdly satisfying to me. ASMR, that must be it.
Yeah.
But just it makes this you're essentially exploring an abandoned military base / cave system, and so it's very dead, it's very empty, but those little touches just make it feel very alive. Likewise, the sounds that you'll pass, being able to hear a treasure box somewhere nearby, and knowing it's time to kind of go do a little more exploration, a little more scouting is really cool. And just it's never full on. It's always understated, is what I'll say about the sound.
Yeah,
and
What
it works
about the
really well.
alarm klaxon?
What's that?
What about the alarm klaxon?
Yes. So the one notable sound in all that silence is every once in a while a horde of enemies will kind of attack you.
okay.
And there's a klaxon that will sound. Really, it's just like a one or two like mwah, mwah, and you're
But
like,
in comparison to the usual,
oh shit, yeah. In comparison to the relative silence that you're exploring in, shit's about to go down. And that led to a very interesting conversation. So. My kids have been watching me play it. Like it's
Okay.
the Lovecraftian stuff
pretty
is
dark.
understated.
Yeah.
Most of it goes right over their heads. It's a fun little action game for them to watch.
Or even just thinking about like the monsters. Like I've seen screenshots of this, and
In motion, actually let me talk about the monster design. At least in the
Okay.
first area, the monster design is really, really, really cool. Like the design brief was like nothing can resemble human form
okay,
in these monsters. You've got these like jellyfish that are also sandworms. You've got like the little kind of grunts are almost these like triangle shaped squeaky things that chase you around. Like it's nothing that has an analog in nature that I can think of.
so it avoids dipping into like like body horror.
Yeah, at least so
The
far.
bosses.
Yeah. But it's it's at a level where I felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not questioning your decision. I was more like, oh, good on them for not having nightmares.
Yeah. Well, and I'm leaning on the fact that most of the horror elements just kind of go over their heads. They're like, oh, this looks cool. It's like, a Metallica poster, whereas the individual elements, if you ever think about what's going on, are terrifying. It's this just kind of looks rad.
Okay, yeah.
But so, I was exploring and Luke was like, why are all these rooms empty? Like, why isn't there anything going on? And it led to a conversation about the idea of pacing and about how, you want it to be slow sometimes and fast other times. And that variance makes things interesting and fun. And he kind of got it. And, I said, okay, sometimes you need quiet time and sometimes it's go, go, go time. And so now whenever Luke hears the klaxon, he'll go, oh, daddy, go, go, go time. So that's that does its job in terms of letting you know that something's coming. But go ahead.
I just had a question about some of the decisions, but go on, I guess, when you're done.
Yeah, the decisions, it's very open. You kind of just wander around. And there is some randomization, like the blocks of rooms are always in the same order. However, every now and again, individual rooms within those blocks will be shuffled, or there will be like an item pickup room where there wasn't one before. And it does a really good job of being unsettling in terms of just never, like, it's familiar enough that you can kind of check out as you're navigating around, but it's also, there's enough chance that something will be different than you expect that you can surprise yourself if you stop looking closely enough. But you can just kind of pick an area that you haven't gotten to yet and be like, I bet you something's over there. There's kind of some large icons for mini bosses and stuff like that. But beyond that, it's just kind of go explore. So you can tackle those three first bosses in any order.
Yeah.
And you can even take on the main boss of the area before beating all the mini bosses, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But then there's also this, and I don't know if this is what you meant by choices, David, but you kind of get these powers, the ability to double jump, a shield, etc. And as you collect shards from the mini bosses, you can choose to cash those in to upgrade your powers, or there's some kind of vague like incinerator thing that you can take the shards to. And that's all the explanation it gives you. It's like, hey, you can use these to upgrade your powers, or you could destroy them, and they're called elder shards. That seems kind of maniacal. Yeah. But there's no incentive or rationale given in the game. In fact, the only reason I kind of know what that incinerator was for when I happened upon it was because in previews for the game, in like trailers, it talked about needing to balance the upgrading your powers with resisting their allure or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've gone, hell yeah, I want to power up so far.
You've not been shown a downside yet.
Yeah, David, you can tell me if I'm doing it wrong.
So basically, which you choose to do determines which powers you unlock, and then also determines what ending you get.
Is it like a binary? Like once you upgrade one power, that's it for you?
Yeah. So once you upgrade one power, you're locked out of the final boss, and
Ooh, that's harsh.
It's kind of it's kind of the equivalent of what's the final boss of Bloodborne.
Oh yeah.
Moon Presence.
Yeah, it's kind of there's the final boss and then sort of the actual final boss, if that makes sense.
And I could see this being a game where once you know what you're doing, you could get through it really quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So and from what I recall, it's generally if you incinerate the abilities, you tend to get more like tech related abilities, so like guns and things like that. If you cash them in, you tend to get more movement powers. So
yeah, the one I took made it so that my shield didn't just protect me, but it would reflect damage back at people who hit me.
Yeah.
I'm on that dark path.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that you at least have to look forward to is as the game goes on, it gets progressively more about the movement powers, even in just like combat. Whereas like by the end of the game, you'll go several minutes worth of combat without like ever touching the ground.
Yeah, my main problem right now, or the thing that leads to the most deaths, is that I cannot dodge in midair. Like I need to be standing on something to dodge. And if there was just a way to affect that, I think I would have a much easier time.
Yeah,
that's not a knock. Like it's nothing wrong. It is, it is something that you have to learn to work around.
Yeah, so that definitely comes in time. The other thing I know, which I think this might be one of the tech powers, so there'd be a different equivalent on the like Elder Path, but like I eventually got the ability a kind of a bazooka ability, and so you could do a thing where to get across like some of the just extremely large gaps where you'll basically dodge backwards and then immediately fire the bazooka to like kick back.
I've got the bazooka.
Okay, yeah. So that you can I guess if you take advantage of its kickback, there are places that it looks like you can't get to yet that you definitely can get to yet.
Interesting. Yeah, that is. It's got that Metroidvania element of like, okay, there's no way for me to get up there right now. I need to remember this room for later.
Yeah.
No.
I've also I'm playing this on I've got this through the Epic Store, but I've been playing it up on the TV, and I plugged the PS4 controller into my PC. This is the first time that I've really played a game that way. I tried plugging in the PS4 controller. I think it was for Costume Quest.
Okay.
And it just was a complete cluster. Like nothing mapped right. It felt, I guess it constantly thought the right stick was clicked in, and it did not work. And that kind of put me off of using the PS4 controller for PC gaming for quite a long time.
There's a program called DS4 that you can install that fixes that immensely.
Yeah.
Okay. I might
and you can change the color of the light on the controller.
Hey, that's sweet. Little fact for Borderlands 3, I won't talk about it more right now, but depending on what elemental damage you're doing, the light on your controller changes, which I appreciate. But anyway, so for Sundered, I've been playing it that way. I've also been playing. I've never used before the fact that you can just plug headphones directly into the PS4 controller. I kind of forgot that was a thing. And man, is that nice to be able to do. So I feel like in addition to just being an amazing game and beautiful in terms of visual and sound design, it's also taken me to the next level of my controller game. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's a game that very much does benefit from having a controller.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how I would play it without one. But two, it absolutely benefits from playing with headphones. And that's a lot of fun to late at night just kind of be posted up on the couch or climb back and playing Sundered with headphones in.
Also, in order to pitch this to Kole, it does in fact have a grappling hook.
Ooh, okay.
Which I haven't unlocked yet, and I was so certain I was going to, but...
I mean, so people in the chat would probably be curious to know, like, is this on your list for Bonfireside Chat? Like, yeah, it's on our radar. We know about it. It's just just one of those things.
Very cool.
Yeah,
and that's me. That's what I've been playing.
Cool. Sundered. Yeah, I mean, so does the visual quality stay as impressive as it appears? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Just in terms of walking around is just so much fun to just see stuff. And again, fundamentally, you're walking through like bunkers and cave systems, which could be the most boring thing in the world. But they really, really just, it has such a presence to it. It all feels so cohesive and really leans into that hand-drawn aesthetic in a way that I like.
Yeah. Probably what I would compare the animation to most would be like the original Prince of Persia. In that, it big time has, like when you land from a jump, you kind of fall into a crouch and, all those sorts of like accessory animations.
Yeah. That's that game was like rotoscoped. It was Jordan Mechner's like kid brother that he was tracing over. Yeah. Huh. Neat. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I got weird one this week. It's all games I've played before. So I got 3 in ascending interesting order, I guess. I started Subnautica playthrough again just for fun.
Oh, cool.
Only played about maybe 4 or 5 hours of it, but I've enjoyed that a whole bunch. That's a game that's a lot of fun to play. It's a lot of fun to go back to because like kind of exactly where to go and like how to set things up.
And
so
you're not like upgrade things. Yeah.
So you can fast track the scanning room and get that done pretty quickly and get the HUD upgrade, and then you can actually see where you can get items. So like you don't have to actually like quote unquote explore anymore.
Yeah.
But it's still like just a really pretty game, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just really fun swimming around and being terrified of those giant fish that chase you and almost kill you.
Have you managed to avoid doing the ice expansion?
I'm not going to do that until they release it. That's just because I don't want to play it incomplete. I kind of want to go into it with fresh eyes and everything.
Makes sense.
I'm still holding off on that one. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for that to come out. I don't know I think the release date's going to be maybe sometime this year or something, maybe. I remember I looked up dates for this like maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of people playing it. Like I saw Allison playing it, just a handful of other people on Steam firing it up. And so I thought that maybe it had released, but I guess there was just a big update that they put out.
That could be, yeah. Maybe I should look it up and maybe I'm in the wrong and maybe it's already released. But yeah, anyway, that game's great, but there's not too much to talk about there. If you haven't played it, it's worth playing. I'm not even going to field questions about it. Next game is...
no questions.
I played more Slay the Spire this week. And one thing that I've been doing recently is like tag team playing the game with somebody on like Discord. Okay. Just as a way to like hang out with friends. And so I played as the Silent, I think, the green class. Where it's like a highly like defensive class, and I had a run through where I beat the heart, which is like the you beat the game plus or whatever. Yeah. It was a good run through. I had early on I got 2 relics where I had block for the first 2 rounds of any match, so I started taking a bunch of power cards, which like you play once and it gives you a power for the rest of the for the round, because I figured I would have 2 free rounds, so I'd be able to play all these and not have to worry about blocking damage or whatever.
Okay.
And that ended up being pretty successful, and so it was like a shivs and poison run, and I don't know, that was fun. And then I played with a friend who was playing as the Defect, which is like the droid class. And he had a run where he was doing completely power card runs as well. There's one card in particular, if you get it and you play it at the beginning of every round, you get a power card added to your deck.
Okay.
And there's another card like this that I experimented with where it's like at the beginning of every round you get a basic card out of your deck, which it's called Hello World is the name of the card, but it's like a garbage card. You just get your deck gets like really watered down with all these random things that don't make sense, and so I thought it was going to be terrible. But the power card where it adds a power card to your deck is like explosive and random and awesome. It's like there's one power where it's like if you play it, the first card you play every round's doubled, and so then you keep playing like more power cards, and like everything just crescendos. Like every time you play a power card, you channel a bunch of lightning and then draw cards, which you draw more power cards, so then you play those, and it's just like I don't know. It was a beautiful run through, so I was happy to watch that and gently guide it in a few places. So that game is another really, really awesome game. I think those are like 2 of my favorite games in the past 2 years. It's like so well balanced, and it's like even like a year and a half out, like it's really cool to see these like new combinations of decks you can put together in a run that you'd never considered before. But it's like there's enough room to support that type of stuff.
Have they have they put out new content for it, or are you just kind of poking at corners you hadn't tried before?
So they for sure put out new content, because they put out a 4th character like maybe 3 or 6 months ago.
Okay.
As far as the cards go, it's hard to tell, because as you play the game, like you get experience for each run you do, and as you do that, it unlocks cards. So I'm not sure if the cards that are there I've unlocked were in the base game, or if they've added them sometime in between then.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, so for the most part, most everything that's there, it's been there for a while, I guess. But it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. That game's cool. All right.
No questions.
Yeah. Moving on. The last game, I continued to play Death Stranding. I got to my first boss battle, which was interesting. I basically threw my pee and feces at it to kill it, which this makes sense in a Kojima game, I guess, right? This doesn't sound weird. I don't know.
I read about it, like it's almost like a decoy kind of thing.
Which part?
The piss and poo.
They're like grenades that they give you for using the toilet in like your private room,
right?
And then you can and apparently the first boss is you can just throw them on it. And,
cool.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, technically, that is always an option in life.
Yeah,
I guess so.
It's one of those things. Like that's one of the way you can kill the Capra demon in Dark Souls. Like there's no sense being no sense being all half-witted about it now.
But anyway, the game continues to be weird. In addition to that, it's opened up kind of like a second map area, so it's not all one connected thing. It's kind of weird, the scale of the game, because like you're in the story of the game, you're starting out at the east coast of the U.S. and you're going west to the end of the United States.
Okay,
and kind of connecting it to their weird internet along the way. And so this was the first time that there was a break in it, and I think it was basically because the second map is just a varied terrain, and I guess they didn't want to figure out how to like subtly do that, I guess. Or maybe it could be like loading issues or whatever, like loading in the map. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's kind of cool to see that. There's more kind of lore that they're introducing in, so all that's interesting, but I haven't delved too far into that yet. But yeah, that game's still cool and weird. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's to be met on its own terms at the very least.
I figured out finally they refer to all the bad ghosts as BTs, which I had no idea what it meant, but it's like beach things is what it stands for.
That makes sense.
There's this weird theme of like, because I think I mentioned before, there's like a whale that'll jump out at you if things go south, and like there's beached whales at the beginning of the game, so that's like a a theme is like this concept of whales beaching themselves when they know they're going to die.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this stuff means, but it's there.
Don't worry, it all makes sense in space.
That's another that's just another meaning for the word stranding. Like what is that? Like that's another word. Like it's either beached or stranded. It's kind of used interchangeably.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's cool, right? Like, not a lot of games will do that where they, like, dive into, like, wordplay and making it into game elements and stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's one thing that Kojima does is, like, really nestle into a theme and exploit it. I'm not using exploit as a negative word there. It's just he just knows how to
like
find
build upon it.
Yeah. He knows how to explore it, I suppose. Would be the more positive framing for that.
Work that theme.
Yeah. And the walking mechanics carry throughout all this part, even though the boss is very action oriented. You're like running and jumping around.
That's really funny. This is the first thing your mention is the first I've heard of a boss fight. So like, it is.
So
is there?
I had heard of this going into it. Yeah. So I guess maybe I heard about this going into it. So this was not like a surprise to me. I haven't gotten to this point, but I know that at a certain point in the game, there's like a change in mechanics, like a dramatic change in the mechanics. And what I assumed that to be was that you could start like shooting people instead of just running around. But I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I haven't gotten there. In this case, the mechanic is you're running and jumping around, sometimes having to do balance or whatever if you get knocked off balance. But then you're throwing grenades, which is something that they've like kind of eased into. That's something that you could do before. The grenades, again, are like when you take a shower or go to the bathroom in your private room, there's a scientist who will radio in and be like, yeah, we're collecting all your bodily fluids. We're using it for testing to see if it has any effect on the BTs when you throw it at them. So,
just because we're bored, we can't go outside.
Yeah.
I'm about like 2 weeks from doing that.
Just in case you thought you could kind of glaze over this, we're going to make it overt.
Yeah. So it's not exactly weapons, but it's weird.
To be fair, Metal Gear Solid 5 did have a definite showering mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might just have stumbled upon his fetish. Just saying.
Yeah, there's that one scene. Man. Any other thoughts on Death Stranding?
No.
Cool. For me, it's just I'm like the thing that I played is barely a game, but I talked about it in a brief, probably a couple of months back. It's worth mentioning here. After I got my office set up for VR, I decided to try out Twin Peaks VR. Okay. So this is like I don't know who developed it, but it got final sign off by David Lynch. And it is
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, like they consulted him on a couple of different details, like does the red room have a ceiling, things like that. And they it's an official product, not like one of the many video games that kind of appropriate the style of Twin Peaks. You're actually like going through areas, you're going through locations from specifically Twin Peaks The Return, although some of the areas are repeats, right? Like you get to walk around the Twin Peaks like sheriff station, which was a location in the original series. You get to walk around the like the part of the woods where the where the abandoned train car is, where the big pool of black oil is, all of that. Just kind of exploring these little places. If I'm sounding really dismissive about this, it's just because it's overall really junky as an experience. It's not really a game. Like each of the individual stages has like a little bit of a puzzle. Like in the station, you're finding pieces of a map and putting them up on a board so you can see where you're going to go, and then you're warped to a different place where you have to like pick up an axe and like chop a couple of things to get through, and then you go to another place where there are like handprints on the wall that you have to like press your hands on, like the correct hand on, like walking along a wall. Like the interactivity is really minimal. It's kind of like really jankily programmed to where It'll like freak out if you like collide with the wrong thing. The locomotion isn't necessarily that great. It's like super easy because of the way things are mapped to like go back and forth between pressing a button, you know, basically puts a circle on the ground to where you're going to teleport to, or pressing a stick will move you in that direction, which will immediately make you motion sick because you're also just trying to walk around and turn and explore places and things. And like the story content is basically nil. There's just like a couple of like you press on a button to play a voicemail, and it's like the door code is on your desktop on your computer, and then you go over and look at it. It's just like super basic and whatever. I knew from the video, like from the preview that they put out, that it was going to be real junky, real lo-fi. But I was like, $10 to like walk around in some of these locations from Twin Peaks. It's basically like a half an hour worth of content, and, you know, caveat emptor or whatever. It's hard for me to get too salty about it. But like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend this even for somebody who's like a huge fan of Twin Peaks. Like, it's cool to rock around the station, and that's about it.
Sounds like the missing element is everything about David Lynch.
Yeah.
It's like none of the weirdness or weird characters or anything like that.
You get to be in the like in the Red Room, you know, like in the Black Lodge and stuff like that. And there's a little bit of, you know, like stuff changes when you're not looking at it, but it's just real minimal. It's just a super cheap product. And there's no real, it's just not inspired at all. It's just kind of like, here's like roughly 4 of the story beats that happen in Twin Peaks: The Return, and there you go. Yeah, so sorry to be a bummer. I'm normally not like this, like straight up down on something, but yeah, this is kind of me saying stay away. There's lots of really good VR stuff.
You have more of a right to, right? Since you're really bought into the series, so
yeah, and had the potential to be real cool, you know. Like, I wanted to like it. I was there. I was predisposed, but no dice. Yeah. Any questions about Twin Peaks VR?
When are you going to play Half-Life Alyx?
Ouch. Taking me to task.
I'm only saying this out of envy because you have a VR system.
Yeah, no, I want it. I was real surprised because I was like, all right, you know, I knew it was coming out, and I was like, okay, I'll budget $60 for that. It's fine. I went to buy it after it came out so I could get it preloaded for whenever I, you know, felt like playing it or would be able to play it, just load it up. Apparently, like, I had some kind of qualifying event. It's not health insurance. Something in the past made it so I get every Valve game for free. I think what it was, I think it's either because I bought a Steam Link, or it's because I was a very early adopter of Steam on the Mac, and it was really bad. And so they said, hey, you get this golden ticket for Valve games. But like, I went to go buy it and like, hey, this is already in your library. And I was like, well, I'm not drinking because of quarantine, so that doesn't make any sense that I would have bought something without realizing it. So I've already got it. No, so basically what's happening is like I alluded to when we were talking about the Surge, I've just been behind on assignment play. So I have to beat Legend of Grimrock 2 and Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, and also the Surge. And then I would sit down and play it, or stand up and play it, as it were, but everything is ready for it.
I am so baffled. It's like this is like one of the best games to come out in like years. And, and you can play it right now. I could. And you're not.
But
it hurts me.
I could play it right now, but I'm talking with you guys and I'm having fun doing it. Also, it's work. Aww. I've got work.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things when playing games is your job. I'm incredibly lucky for it, but something you don't want to do when you're off and taking time off from playing games is playing another game. So like, I'm doing stuff around the house and things. Yeah. No, I understand. I would love to be able to share details with you, Ben, but also with the audience, because not everybody can play it. You know, the reviews are glowing, but you know, people want to hear about stuff on podcasts. I get it, and I feel bad, but here we are.
Let me know stuff about it in broad strokes, because I'm like locking myself with any media that has it right now, because I want to.
I would not
go into it fresh.
Yeah, I would not feel good spoiling like story detail and stuff for it. I like it because I honestly know nothing about it aside from I assume you play as Alex.
No spoilers. Don't tell me if that's true or not.
No. But that's all. That's all that I got.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Hey, Dennis, what is the super cheery question you put out to the nice people?
I've got Apocalypse on the brain.
Yeah.
And
What's
lots
that?
of games have. I don't know.
There's something going on?
I can't put my finger on it.
Okay.
Can't
No,
quite
I mean
touch
you
it.
shouldn't. Like, you can stay six, I can't get closer than 6 feet to it.
So yeah, lots of games have post-apocalyptic settings, but no two apocalypses. And I don't know, is it apocalypse?
Apoctopodes.
Apoctopodes are exactly alike. So if you had to choose one, obviously we'd all rather stay in the real world because the real world is completely fine. But if you had to choose a video game apocalypse world to live in, which one would you pick and why?
Yeah. I will get us rolling here with Greg, who says, I really like the idea of living in a super city, a self-contained ecosystem where everyone is safe and healthy and your needs are taken care of. This is used in a lot of franchises, but the best game examples that come to mind are XCOM Apocalypse and the Blue Zones from the Command & Conquer franchise. Of course, this assumes I'm wealthy, because only the privileged live there. The poor people are stuck in the wasteland. Insert witty social commentary on the endless class struggle here. Hoo boy, don't give me an excuse to do that. Yeah, good. I think Greg is kind of like describing like an arcology or something like that.
I believe you, but I'm Googling it.
Yeah, it's a concept. It's cool. It's a cool idea.
Ark is in like Noah's Ark. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
David, what does Paul say?
Paul says, Mad Max. The game was better than I expected, and the world felt right on to the movies. And he had a dog. And vehicles.
Yeah. No, all you have to do is just get real used to being thirsty.
Just get real used to being insane.
Yes.
Yeah. And eating that quite possibly some of the most upsetting food in any video game I've ever played.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
You don't remember the maggots?
I don't. Was it in a cutscene or was it like a mechanic?
Oh no, one of the mechanics is you find a dead body, reach into the rib cage, scoop out a handful of maggots, and eat them. And that's how you
No, I don't remember that.
I forgot that as well.
I played a non-trivial amount of that game. I must have repressed it.
That's ghoulish, literally. Ben, what does Casey say?
Sorry, I was looking up how many hours of Mad Max I played just because I forgot that as well. Casey says, Sunless Sea or its sequel. I'd love to live in a steampunk London floating in space.
Yeah, all those are good adjectives.
David, horrible things happen to rank and file people there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to
wait. Have you not made it to the debtor prisons yet?
I believe they're there. I just haven't played very much of those games, even though I.
Oh yeah. So one of the plot points in this game, each of the games have kind of their thing they're about, and one of the big ones in this one is that London is basically mining and refining raw time.
Okay.
And one of the effects of that is time dilation. And so since that tends to become a problem,
right.
They just, have the poor end up in debtors' prisons where they'll, go in as like children, and by the time they're released be like 80 years old, even though it only like a few years have passed.
Huh.
Yeah, no, that is also, it seems basically like the premise of that Justin Timberlake movie In Time.
How dare you mention that?
I mean, it's a really good concept for sci-fi. It's actually a really good
Black
idea.
Mirror episode.
Yeah.
There's also, well, the game gets creepy. Also, as a side note, I wanted to actually pull up the statistics so I got it right. So Greg's answer reminds me of one of the cheating answers, which is that in the Sloan Judge Dredd movie,
Okay.
Mega City 1 has 17,000 crimes reported daily, which means that it has about 1/4 of America's crime rate.
Oof.
Well, we also define a bunch of weird shit as crimes, so
Yeah.
it's all relative. Let's see, Dennis. What does Lindsay say?
Lindsay says, a Fallout setting could be fun. Looting everything, shooting all kinds of weapons and alien tech, plus making mutated friends. And who could forget the awesome power suits? Apocalypse never sounded so fun. I feel like that's on a billboard somewhere in a Fallout universe.
Oh.
Bottle caps are money now?
Yeah, I feel like any of them except for 76, I would definitely be all about that.
It's just so funny how even several decades after the bombs fall, people are still fighting over canned food. It's like, man, find a way to farm. I'm a dipshit who knows nothing, and I've been in my house for 2 weeks, and I'm already starting to bake my own bread. Like, that's not necessarily the same as milling your own flour, but
Technically,
But you'll get there by the time you need to.
we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it as we need it.
Technically speaking, in Fallout 76, everyone, society comes together and forms a, functioning society where people provide for each other and, farm and, are self-sustaining, and then everyone dies.
Oh, well, then you can just hermit crab right into it, and then you're fine. Let's see here. Christopher writes, Fallout. New California Republic would probably be the safest place that isn't run by a piece of shit Lynette from Vault City. Maybe pop over to New Reno or New Vegas for some gambling. Yeah, bet on the dude fights. Yeah, the NCR would probably be fine. Yeah. Let's see here, David. What does Ollie say?
Ollie says, I feel like I could make a pretty good job of existing and even thriving in the Half-Life universe. Good with physics, good shot, can use a crowbar real good, questionable morals. I'll straight up stab a ... I'm basically Freeman, just with better facial hair.
You could argue that Freeman uses a crowbar real bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've used a crowbar before. Like I've had to pop molding off in a house or whatever. Like it's not whacking. if you're hearing clang 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 clang, that is an off-label use of a crowbar. Let's say
Maybe he's just impressed by the effect, given how he's using it.
Yes.
I feel like this is gonna be me being but actually on all of these, I'm sorry. I feel like the whole not being able to have sex thing would kind of suck.
So it's not that you can't have sex; it's that they stopped
ambiguous.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was so in my reading of what happens in SETI 17, it's more of an anti-fertility field, and it's not like a potence field. It's not like they turn off everybody's horny. But I have no idea. I think that also was kind of just a Children of Med nod more than anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
And just kind of a explanation of why we're not going to be modeling any children.
Right. Yeah. Which was probably for the better. Yeah. Let's see here. Ben, what does Dan say?
Dan says Horizon Zero Dawn, man. Those mountain views, green grass, snowy cliffs, and rusted cacophony of mechanical dinosaur corpses as I tiptoe over to make my way to Meridian.
Hey, Dennis, are there any organic animals in that world besides
Nope.
humans?
Wait, yes.
I mean, like, is there just a cow
Yeah.
you can kill and make
cow,
make a burger out of?
Yeah, I want to say you can do hunting, and then you get food through
Okay.
hunting, like rabbits and shit. But nothing cow like, nothing horse like. It's like
Gotcha.
the small wildlife has come back,
Okay.
but anything larger has not been able to recover. I want to say that's diegetic as well.
That there's like a
reasons
story.
for that.
Yeah. I also don't know what
how much to
caused
talk about
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much to spoil about the game.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. We can leave it as is. I would like to play
Yeah.
that.
Just remember that a diet of only rabbit will eat you, will kill you dead.
Just like a
is that
diet of
right?
only polar bear liver.
Yeah, protein poisoning is a thing.
Yep.
Are we subtweeting Lost now? What's going on?
No. I that's just the fact that I know you get like vitamin A poisoning or something if you do that.
Yeah, it's
wow.
super, super high.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dan is also swooping my answer here. Horizon Zero Dawn would definitely be the apocalypse I would inhabit, given the choice.
Yeah.
Not just the cool dinosaurs, mechasaurs, and everything, but they seem to have gotten closest to reestablishing civilization. It's an apocalypse you can really live in, you know?
Let's see here. Which one have you read, Dan's? Sorry, we had some recording difficulties here.
I think you might have
did.
bounced over me.
Yes, that was Ben. So, Dennis, what does Tim say?
Tim says Bastion. Ooh, interesting. The ability to resurrect parts of the world and put them where you like is rather appealing. I'd love to be able to set foot outside my door and look across at every store I'd need to go to within 50 yards of home. Hell yeah. While at the same time having an infinite amount of space to just breathe in the peaceful air. Plus, a grizzled narrator hyping up the mundane events in my life seems pretty great, though. Oh, yeah.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like hell. If you can hear him.
You don't?
The boy went back for his third bowl of chips. Like, fuck you. You don't have you can't judge me. The world is ending, okay? Fuck.
You got to assume that the narrator is on your team and putting a positive spin on whatever you do.
But he isn't specifically. Like, if you do dumb shit, he calls you on it.
Also, I never realized until just now the degree to which he refers to you as the boy.
It's the kid. It's the kid.
Oh, is it the kid? I was going to say, I'm now convinced that the narrator is Kratos.
Yeah, it's the kid. Kid was wrecking up the shop. Yeah. Let's see here. Alex says, going with Shin Megami Tensei because A, it involves possible loopholes where I could travel back through time to prevent the apocalypse, and B, failing that, you can always just live deliciously by selling your soul to the devil for dope magic powers.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. SMT
It
was
also...
good.
It's also would be comforting, knowing that Death Stranding is not the weirdest scenario for the apocalypse.
And then David, round us out here with OMG a Moose.
So Omega Moose says, assuming you consider it one, I'd say the Stalker series is where I'd want to live, but it might be the rules lawyer choice. While it definitely has ruined areas, the world outside the zone technically still exists, mostly as normal. But really, I'd want to live in the zone itself. Daily job is just exploring, hunting mutants, maybe defending against bandits. Plus, lots of throwing bolts to find anomalies. Appeals to my desire to live in a truly weird world. Plus, I could always exploit the rules lawyering and decide I've made enough money in the zone and retire to outside of it.
And there's no such thing as a retired stalker. Come on. So if it's anything like Roadside Picnic, the presence of the zone has changed society around the zone. Kind of like how, in the Leftovers, like a 0.5% of the population disappearing changes the world forever, So it's possible.
I know they do at least establish that there's a thriving black market for the artifacts and that they, basically enable super science. So like you get medical researchers that want certain artifacts, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the implications of the technology that you find and recover, change things greatly, even outside the zone. But it just depends.
I feel like it would depend to me. There's like a difference between some of the stories that you'll hear the stalkers tell about what apparently happens in the zone, which is freaking terrifying.
Yeah.
And then like the actual zone you experience, which is also terrifying.
It's just mostly like invisible monsters as opposed to just places where gravity decides not to work.
Right. Or just things where like at one point they basically establish like if you sleep outside in the zone without like psychic shielding, you'll basically just get your brain fried.
Yeah. Man, Roadside Picnics is a really good book, and it only takes like an afternoon to read. Yeah. Anyway, my answer for this would be Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, because really the apocalypse only seems to have affected the royalty. And fuck the royalty. We can live without Hyrule because there's like villages where they have good fresh food and shit. And as long as you stay away from the ancient monstrosities, you're okay. Yes, Zelda Breath of the Wild for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like America's core problem is we keep electing the ancient monstrosities.
but don't you see? Like you get rid of the government and it's fine.
Hey, it worked for Belgium.
Yeah, they didn't have a government for a while because they forgot about it.
David, how about you?
Oh man, this one's tough. If it's explicitly I get to be the hero, then I'd definitely go with Warframe.
Okay.
Sure.
Even though you're giving up just a huge slice of your humanity, or yeah, whatever. It wasn't worth that much.
I wasn't attached to it anyway.
I mean, let's be honest. We've seen humanity. Other than that, I mean, I could cheat and say like Splatoon.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
There's all these stealth apocalypse games that
I know. I'm surprised at this.
Yeah, Splatoon, Hatoful Boyfriend.
Yeah, Hatoful Boyfriend would do that. Yeah. Huh. I don't feel like that's cheating. It's still technically there.
Yeah. I feel like if I was going to go more realistic, I'd say probably Horizon Zero Dawn, or I don't know if this counts, but Monster Hunter.
Huh.
Okay.
I guess that's not it. I mean, it feels like the apocalypse, but I don't think it technically is.
Don't know. Ben, how about you?
So here's a case where I picked my answer first, realized it wasn't post-apocalyptic, so I'm going to try and rationalize it as post-apocalyptic so I can keep it as my answer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say Mass Effect, but after the events of Mass Effect 3, because that's kind of post-apocalyptic, right?
I mean, it's just the entire universe is cut off from each other. Like the actual kind of planets could probably use the technology that already exists. Like all that does is cut off the mass relays. They could still live and it'd be fine.
Yeah, that sounds apocalyptic, right? Yeah.
I mean, compared to what it was before, take the Mayan thing, like, the end of the world isn't necessarily the cessation of all life. It is a substantial change to the way we live. Yeah.
So you're agreeing with me that 2012 was a good movie?
2000. Oh, no, I'm not saying that. No, I'm specifically not saying that, but. And Dennis, somebody swooped yours. Did you have a backup, or did you want to talk more about?
No, I'm going to lean into
HCD?
Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah. It's like I said, kind of a cool world that has recovered far enough to to be livable, but not so far that everything's gotten that you can't have some good old fashioned apocalypse fun, you know?
Yeah.
Plus robot dinosaurs. Come on.
I mean, it sounds horrifying. Like, I don't know if just there was a local Truckosaurus that we had to all be aware of at any given time. That would weigh on me psychologically.
Yeah, I like David's qualifier of if I get to be the hero in this world versus not. I think that adds a lot of depth.
Yes. If I was just a regular townsperson living in a village in Breath of the Wild, it would probably be fine.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that's actually something I always wished some game or, fantasy whatever would kind of lean into is, for example, what would it be like living in a world that was basically like ours, except giant spiders were a thing?
So Australia.
The movie Enemy.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this, the sunniest of multiplayer questions. I'm honestly not throwing shade at you. It was a fun discussion.
I'll throw shade at you. I mean, you don't need to.
I'm thinking about it anyway, so whatever. No, if you would like to participate in multiplayer prompts in the future, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons.
The end boss.
Now it is time for the End Boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to us for some reason. I'll get started here because, of course, we're going to talk about COVID, because, of course, we're going to talk about the coronavirus, and something just I've been grappling with because Plague Inc. is a fun game, and it's hard to know if that is a tasteless thing to enjoy or a good thing, actually.
It has educational value.
Maybe, possibly, although they came out and said, like, hey, maybe listen to the WHO and the CDC as opposed to playing our game and seeing if it works like that. But the developer behind Plague Inc. has given us a little bit more evidence in the favor of, like, hey, actually this is good. So Endemic Creations, previously they had come out and said, like, yeah, like, people, like, a lot of people are buying our game and that's cool, but we are not like a strictly realistic thing. This is like a board game that we just kind of made and computerized. It's fine. But here recently what they have done is they have donated $250,000 to COVID-19 relief. And they're going to be putting together a special mode where instead of the usual kind of turn on things where you're playing as the virus trying to mutate in order to eliminate all life on Earth, what you're doing is you're playing as a united human front trying to stop the spread of COVID-19 or a similar kind of virus, kind of showing and modeling in real time as a game what different measures like social distancing and hand washing and all of these things can do in order to slow the spread and ultimately reduce the overall human cost in life and injury and suffering of an out of control pandemic that spans the entire world. And I think that's real cool. And I cannot wait for this new mode to come out. In fact, I'll probably stream this when it comes out. But they, Endemic decided to kind of like work with the WHO and an organization called the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovations in order to kind of figure out how to adjust their model and look at all the possible ways. And this is going to be an update that comes out for it. So it's going to be cool. Yeah, good on Endemic for donating that money. They're like an indie studio. $250,000 is a lot, but also, using their using their existing simulation as a way to kind of show how policy and behavior can affect the mechanics they've been modeling for a while is a good use of their resources.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that. It's just good. I will probably report when that comes out. Dennis, what is Steam doing in response to everybody staying at home?
Yeah, I found it mostly interesting that, everyone is steaming right now, and it stands to reason. You got to stay home. You got to backlog the video games. Let's play some games via Steam. They hit over 23.5 million players logged on at once on Monday afternoon, which is an incredible all-time high. And Valve is actually making some changes to the way their service downloads updates to games because of the way it's eating up bandwidth. And I hadn't even thought about this problem, but it makes total sense.
The way that it does automatic updates to games.
Correct. Yes. Normally games, if you have automatic updates turned on, will happen immediately. And then certainly if you request to play it, etc. Right now they're changing it so that only games played within the last 3 days will be updated immediately versus all. Mm-hmm. And that is recognizing the fact that more people are at home all day and need their network for work stuff, etc. And so they are kind of changing the baseline there. You've always had control and always been able to adjust those settings yourself. Yeah. But it's just interesting to me that this, an effect of everyone being at home is everyone playing more video games is affecting network usage to the extent that Valve felt the need to do something about it.
I've definitely noticed this, not necessarily the changes in the default updating schedule or what have you, but just the overall like weirdness in internet performance. Like even Discord got super weird shortly after, quarantines were started, officially, things like that. So like it's generally fine to me if these different services change their defaults so that everybody is at least by default a better net citizen, as long as like, hey, I want to update this game so I can play it, as long as they honor the request to, update manually. Right. Then that is good.
Which I imagine most people are like me that just have never in their lives thought about the impact that automatic updates were having. So
yeah.
I'm happy for them to kind of make that little decision for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good, and it stands to reason that the play would go up and they would have to respond to that. At the very least, things stand to reason. So I'm looking at the Slack. Hey, Ben, you got a story?
Nope.
Attaboy. Yeah. Hey, David, you got a story?
Oh, we already did it. You just forgot.
Oh, okay. Attaboy, me. How do you guys feel about buttoning it up?
Zippers.
The credit.
I'll let that zippers through. Okay, there we go. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Level. I really appreciate you taking the time. I hope that you are finding ways to use your confinement constructively. I hope that you are connecting with people who you didn't even realize you were disconnected with. All of that. Most of all, we're happy you listened. You know what to do. If you can, if you're in a financial position, there's the Patreon. Otherwise, tell your friends about us. Like, there are lots of people who are looking for like media to keep them company in the future as she goes. So if you want to send people our way, we would not look askance at that. But otherwise, just be good to each other. Try and lighten each other's burdens. Stay inside and wash your goddamn hands. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
20 seconds, folks.
Yep, 20 seconds. Happy birthday 2 times. I could share any number of memes about like obscure bands that I like and which verses of their songs would match, but you don't know those songs, and I will not pretend that you will ever learn them. So, yeah. Cool. So I've been Kole Ross. You can watch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah, I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me at Duck of Wonders on Twitch, and I actually upgraded my PC so I can actually stream now. So yeah, look for streams there.
Oh, dang, nice.
My name's David Mysmith. You can find me in my apartment because social distancing.
Yep.
I've been Ben Merkel at MerkelB on Twitch.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, what do we got?
Let's see here. I have
Dennis, what you got?
I've got electing the ancient monstrosities,
Okay.
and then I've got the local Truckosaurus.
It's pretty good.
I have a local Truckosaurus, but both of those functionally work. What electing? What's that? Electing the monstrosities.
Monstrosities.
Okay. Ben, what you got?
I got 3. I got literally survivor's bias. I've got it works in space,
Okay. I also have it works in space.
and I have scared straight.
I also have scared straight. That was really clever, Ben.
Well played.
Yeah. David, what you got?
I had it works in space.
Okay. It works in space, wins by votes. How do you guys feel about that?
On Earth, I feel about it, but in space, I feel pretty good about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I do like local Truckosaurus a little bit better, but
Yeah.
I won't put my thumb on the scale
That
too
is
hard.
a pretty good one.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I want to go by the votes on this one. It works in space is good.
Done.
Cool.
Democracy wins.
When we let it. Cool, you guys. I'm gonna go. I've got to play more Legend of Grimrock 2. It's a wonderful game. Like if you guys have it in your library, like it's super super good, but it's long.
Is that the first person turn based?
It's not turn based. It's kind of real time, but you are moving on a grid. It's like a kind of a throwback to classic dungeon crawlers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's really good. Beautiful game as well. But yeah, I got miles to go before I sleep.
Enjoy.
Cool. I'll see you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Be safe, please.
Yeah. See you around.
Okay.
You too.
All right,
Bye.
see you guys.
Bye.